My neighbor reported my illegal home business to the city every week for 2 years. I discovered she was running an unlicensed daycare with 14 kids. One anonymous call to CPS destroyed her life. I started my graphic design business 3 years ago after getting laid off from an advertising agency downtown. Budget cuts. My entire department was eliminated in a single afternoon. I'd been doing freelance graphic design on weekends for years. When the layoff happened, I had maybe 5 regular clients. Not enough to live on, but it was a start. Within 6 months, I'd doubled my client list. Within a year, I was making more than I'd made at the agency. I did everything legally. Applied for a business license from the city, filed for a home occupation permit, bought business liability insurance, created an LLC, paid quarterly estimated taxes. My home office was the spare bedroom. Most of my work happened on my computer. Client meetings were rare, maybe 2 or 3 a month. They'd park on the street, come inside for an hour to review designs, then leave. When I first moved into the neighborhood, my neighbor Linda brought over chocolate chip cookies. She was probably in her early 50s, friendly, worked from home doing medical billing. We'd chat over the fence occasionally. Yard work, weather, the broken streetlight. "It's nice having another professional working from home on this street," she said once. I liked Linda. She seemed normal. Then my business started really taking off. I landed a contract with a tech startup that needed a complete brand identity. That led to referrals. Within 18 months, I was turning down work because I didn't have capacity. That's when I noticed Linda watching. She'd be in her front yard when clients arrived, pulling weeds, checking her mailbox multiple times, standing on her porch. The friendly waves stopped. The casual chats ended. She'd see me outside and go back in her house. I figured maybe she was going through something, didn't think much of it, until the first inspector showed up. It was a Tuesday morning. I was on a video call when someone pounded on my front door. A man in a city polo shirt stood on my porch with a clipboard. "I'm here about a complaint, allegation of a commercial operation in a residential zone." My stomach dropped. "I have a home occupation permit." I grabbed my permit folder. Showed him everything: city-issued permit, business license, insurance certificate. He took photos. "Your paperwork looks legitimate. Someone filed a complaint saying you're running an illegal business, but everything appears to be in order." "Who filed the complaint?" "Complaints can be filed anonymously. I'm required to investigate all of them." A week later, another knock, same inspector. "Another complaint. This one alleges excessive traffic and noise." I'd had exactly 2 clients visit in the past 2 weeks. Both stayed less than an hour. "I work alone in a spare bedroom," I said. "There's no noise." He walked around my property. Confirmed I had no business signage, no modifications, no employees. "Everything's fine, but the complaint was filed, so I have to document the investigation." 10 days later, another complaint. "Operating without proper zoning variance." Same inspector, same documentation, same outcome. "Look," he said quietly after the 4th visit. "Between you and me, someone keeps calling about you. Same voice every time. She files anonymously, but I'm required to check out every complaint. Your business is completely legal, but the calls keep coming." She. He grimaced like he'd said too much. I shouldn't have mentioned that. Over the next 18 months, complaints came like clockwork, sometimes weekly, sometimes twice a week. Code enforcement, zoning board, fire marshal, health department. Someone even complained to the water district about suspicious commercial water usage. Each visit took hours away from client work. I started keeping a binder by my front door with every piece of documentation. I consulted a lawyer after complaint number 30-something. He reviewed everything and shook his head. "You're completely legal." Unfortunately, unless these complaints result in actual violations, there's not much recourse. Some people weaponize the bureaucracy. The consultations cost me $1,500. The lost work time cost me more. After 18 months, I'd had enough. I walked across the street and knocked on Linda's door. She answered wearing an apron, smiling. "Oh, hi there. Are you filing complaints about my business?" The smile didn't change. "I don't know what you're talking about. Someone has filed over 70 complaints in the past year and a half." The inspector said it's always the same woman. "Well, I certainly wouldn't do something like that." She tilted her head. "But if someone is reporting concerns, maybe that's something you should take seriously." "I'm not violating anything. I've proven it 70 times." "Then I'm sure everything will work out fine." She started closing the door. "Have a nice day." She shut the door in my face. That night, I ordered a security camera for my front porch. It arrived 2 days later. I mounted it myself, positioning it to face the street and my property. Completely legal. Lots of houses have security cameras. The camera recorded continuously and uploaded to cloud storage. I could review footage from my phone. I watched for Linda tampering with my property, doing anything I could use as evidence. She never did, but I noticed something else. Every weekday morning between 7 and 9, cars would pull up to Linda's house. Parents would get out, unbuckle children from car seats, walk them to Linda's front door. The door would open, children would go inside, parents would leave. Different cars, different kids, different parents. I watched the pattern for 3 days, then started counting. Monday, 9 different children. Tuesday, 11. Wednesday, 10. Thursday, 12. Friday, 10. The children ranged from infants to kids who looked about 5 or 6. Every afternoon between 4 and 6, the same pattern in reverse. At first, I thought maybe Linda had a huge extended family, but it happened every single weekday. This wasn't family babysitting. This was a business. I pulled up the city's business license database. You can search by address. No results found. No childcare license. No business license of any kind registered to that property. I researched California childcare regulations. You need a license if you're providing care for children from more than one family. Generally, you can't care for more than 6 to 8 children depending on ages without being licensed as a larger facility. Linda had at least 10 to 12 children every single day. Over the next 3 weeks, I documented everything. I created a spreadsheet. Date, time, number of children, license plate numbers. I took photos. My security camera captured clear images of children being dropped off and picked up. I recorded video clips. Linda accepting what looked like cash or checks from parents at pickup. Proof this was a paid service. I photographed her backyard from my upstairs window. Old swing set with rust visible on the chains. No proper fencing. A small plastic pool that looked like it had been sitting there for years. After 3 weeks, I had evidence of 14 different children rotating through Linda's house on a regular schedule. I researched the regulations more carefully. Read through the California Department of Social Services requirements. Background checks required. CPR and first aid certification required. Specific staff-to-child ratios. Regular safety inspections. Liability insurance. Fire safety compliance. Square footage requirements. Health inspections. Unlicensed operation wasn't just a civil violation. It was a criminal misdemeanor. If children were endangered, it could be elevated to more serious charges. Penalties included immediate closure, fines up to $10,000, possible jail time. I sat with this information for a week. Part of me felt guilty. Those kids weren't being abused as far as I could tell. The parents trusted Linda. But Linda had tried to destroy my legitimate business while running an illegal operation herself. I made the call on a Tuesday morning from a blocked number. Child Protective Services hotline. I need to report an unlicensed daycare operation. The woman was professional. Calm. What's the address? I gave Linda's address, described what I'd observed. 14 children, no license, operating Monday through Friday, safety concerns with outdoor equipment. How long has this been operating? At least the 3 weeks I've been watching, probably much longer. We take these reports seriously, especially when multiple children are involved. An investigator will be assigned within 48 hours. I also sent an email to the State Child Care Licensing Board, used a temporary email address. Attached my documentation, photos with timestamps, my spreadsheet, screenshots of the city database showing no license. Then I waited. 2 days later, Thursday morning at 10:17, I was working when I heard vehicles outside. Multiple vehicles. I looked out my window. 2 sedans with state agency plates. 1 police car. All parked in front of Linda's house. 4 people in business attire got out. Clipboards, badges on lanyards. They walked to Linda's door and knocked. Linda answered. Her face changed from confusion to alarm. She tried to close the door. One of the investigators put her hand on the door and said something. Linda let them in. For the next 3 hours, I watched out my window. Other neighbors came out, stood on their porches. Around noon, cars started arriving. Parents being called to pick up their children early. They looked confused, angry, worried. I watched children being walked out one by one. 14 children, some crying, some too young to understand. At 1:48 p.m., Linda was escorted out, not in handcuffs but flanked by 2 people in official jackets. She got into one of the sedans. Before the investigators left, a woman in a suit taped paperwork to Linda's door. I waited until everything was quiet. Then I walked out to check my mailbox, casually passing Linda's house. The notice had an official seal. I could read the bold text from the sidewalk. Unlicensed CHILDCARE facility, cease and desist order. The local news covered it that evening. An unlicensed daycare in a quiet residential neighborhood was shut down today after an anonymous tip to Child Protective Services. Investigators found 14 children being cared for without proper licensing or safety measures. Over the following weeks, I pieced together what happened through court records and neighborhood gossip. Linda was charged with operating an unlicensed childcare facility, 14 counts of child endangerment, and tax fraud for not reporting income. The endangerment charges were misdemeanors, but serious. The penalties included fines, probation, and permanent prohibition from operating any childcare business. Several parents hired lawyers, sued Linda for return of money they'd paid. Some claimed emotional distress. The court eventually ordered Linda to pay $47,000 in combined fines and restitution. She sold her house 6 months later, couldn't afford the penalties otherwise. The complaints about my business stopped immediately, not a single code enforcement visit in the 8 months since. My business has continued growing. I hired an assistant last month, started taking on larger corporate clients. Linda moved out 3 months after everything happened. I heard she went to live with family in Nevada. I never told anyone I made the call. Do I feel guilty? Sometimes. Usually late at night when I think about those 14 children being confused when they were removed. When I think about parents scrambling to find new childcare. But then I remember 2 years of harassment. Over 70 complaints filed against my legal business. Thousands of dollars in legal fees. Countless hours of lost work. The stress of wondering every morning if another inspector would show up. Linda tried to destroy my legitimate business while breaking the law herself, while putting children in an unlicensed, uninspected facility. I didn't destroy her life. She destroyed it herself by operating illegally while trying to weaponize the system against someone who was following every rule. I just made sure the right people knew about it. If this story was worth your time, hit that subscribe button.